Thank you again for choosing Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet.
Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet has been serving South Louisiana for over 50 years. That's right, 50 years. No matter how much Trapp has grown, you can count on hometown feel, friendly service every time you stop it. Our unmatched service and diverse Chevrolet, Cadillac, and pre-owned inventory has set us apart as the preferred car dealer in South Louisiana. We're also known for our outstanding auto repair service, changing your oil quickly and easy financing.
We promise to always give the most in your auto buying experience here at Trapp Cadillac Chevrolet in Houma.
Hello and welcome to this edition of Bayou Time. I'm your host, Keith Whiteside, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us, however you may be joining us. We appreciate it. Anytime we have anything going on with police, we welcome in Blake Tabor. Blake, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me, Keith.
I appreciate it. I'd like you to listen to this one if you don't mind.
Sure.
Kind of situation, kind of want to get your take on it. I want to let you guys know about an update that we received this morning. On October 2nd, 2024 at approximately 7:30 a.m., Houma Police Department school resource officer responded to the report of an arrow that struck a window at Mulberry Elementary School. The investigation revealed that a subject identified as Mike Email was practicing his compound bow and released an arrow in the direction of Mulberry Elementary School and failed to report the damage. The arrow traveled beyond the target and went through a window and lodged in the ceiling of the classroom, which was occupied by a teacher and student at the time. As a result of the investigation, it was determined that the arrow was released in a negligent manner and unintentionally struck the building. Email was then issued a misdemeanor summons for the charge of criminal mischief. The Houma Police Department would like to encourage the public to educate themselves on the proper safety operations of a compound bow and remind everyone of the responsibility of damage and injury caused by this activity. And so we're very, very thankful that nothing more has come out of this, that it was just an accident. But I'm very glad to get First Lieutenant Blake Tabor's perspective. I know HPD, their jurisdiction,
Sure.
but you guys all work in the school system. You guys work in
Absolutely.
the school system outside of the city. We know HPD works inside of the city. But a situation like this could become very, very difficult very quickly.
Absolutely. And, and I think the thing that we need to realize is that anytime we're talking about a school, people become hypervigilant.
Yes.
Okay. And we don't want to use that term as a negative connotation. It could be a positive thing as well, right? Sure. Anytime we're passing around schools or anytime we see something even remotely suspicious going on at a school, we take that to the next level for obvious reasons.
Right.
This situation could have gotten dramatically worse. Let's take into account if maybe a school resource officer was outside making patrols of the school property and just happened to see someone with a bow and arrow
Right.
pointed towards the school. I mean, how could that have changed the dynamic of things that happen?
Right. So let's say this is some 15 minutes earlier, 10 minutes earlier.
Absolutely.
When we kind of witnessed that, and all of a sudden now we think our kids may be in trouble. And then now we're very alarmed, right? And we go into a certain process of lockdown. We go into a process of emergency, we're going to address this issue. And now we're talking about compound bows and arrows and guns.
Absolutely. And you're talking about things that are going to happen very swiftly.
Mm-hmm.
SWAT teams are going to be called out in full numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Snipers are going to be called out. I mean, things are going to escalate very, very quickly. And of course, all of our special tactical response teams are trained in these types of activities. But again, when you hear someone with a bow, just like you would hear someone with a gun, things go from 0 to 60 very fast.
Very fast. And that's why we have so many things in place. That's why we put these protections in. We put, it's you can't talk on your cell phone. It's a, hands-free zone. It's a drug-free zone. We're very careful about that around our schools. You can't have guns or anything around that, but this is it could be a very difficult situation.
Absolutely. And we're just at a point in our society now where we have to take this very seriously no matter what the situation is.
And speaking of, we end up having other drug issues. I mean, drug issues are an issue in our area. We got another update on that as well.
Absolutely.
Right?
So, again, this is an investigation that happened on September 26th, sort of an ongoing investigation with our narcotics division, but it came to a head on that date where they were conducting a search warrant in the 800 block of East Street. Lo and behold, it was a family, a Houma family, a father, a son, and a mother who are all involved in this drug activity, which is disturbing to say the least. But ultimately, when we went inside, we found evidence of heroin, crack cocaine, methamphetamines, fentanyl, which we know is extremely dangerous, various prescription medications, along with firearms, paraphernalia, and also large amounts of cash. So these three people, first is a Robert Lee Miles. He's a 54-year-old male from Houma. See him photographed here. Right. Beverly Jones Miles, who's a 60-year-old female. You see her photographed here. And Robert Lee Miles Jr., a 23-year-old male, were arrested on multitude of charges from distribution amounts. I'm happy to say that all of them are currently incarcerated at our jail on various bonds by local judges. So,
good.
Happy about that.
Well, and interestingly enough, talking about the location where they live, there's several schools right in that area.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's another one of those points where we've got this drug activity in 1 week surrounding some of our local schools, and then we have this firing of a misdemeanor summons of the charge of criminal mischief of a bow and arrow from a compound bow in a school. These are things that are concerning that we have to make sure we stay on top of, and that's why you guys act so quickly. And thank you for getting those people off of the street and out of their homes, if you will, incarcerated where they need to be.
Yeah, and look, to show you how things have changed in our community over the years, right? We have always been a hunting and fishing sportsman's paradise. 15 years ago, seeing someone in their backyard near a school with a compound bow wasn't such a big deal.
Right.
Okay. Now we've got people with compound bows. We have people that look suspicious carrying large umbrellas, walking past a church or a school. Right. These things happen all the time. And again, the message is we don't want the community to stop reporting those things.
Right.
As a law enforcement official, we would always prefer to respond to that, and it'd be a false alarm than the other way around. So please, if it looks suspicious, report it. We'll let you know what happens from there, but we can't turn a blind eye to these things.
Right. And we want to be vigilant. And around our schools, we want to be hyper vigilant.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, Blake, we appreciate that. Thanks for sticking around. We've got some more to talk about.
Sure.
I always have so much coming in from you guys, so thanks a bunch. All right, guys, we're going to take a short break, but we'll be right back with First Lieutenant Blake after this message.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by South Louisiana Bank. It's better when we bank together. Waits and Downer, attorneys at law. Terrebonne Ford, built Ford tough.
Hello and welcome back to this edition of Bayou Time. Again, your host, Keith Weissite, licensed clinical social worker with Terrebonne Home Care. Very glad you're joining us. However you may be joining us, we're very glad to have with us again First Lieutenant Blake Tabor. Blake, thanks for joining us once again.
Thanks for having me.
A couple more situations, one a little more graphic than the other. Let's kind of start out with Mr. Michael Collins that we've learned about.
Yeah, sure. So, again, these are a couple cases that are being featured through the Special Victims Unit. Seems like we're on here talking way too much about these things, but it's really important to not only highlight the work that they do, but also talk about these types of offenders because, again, we're talking about being hypervigilant. We got to be hypervigilant even when our kids are playing outside in our own neighborhoods, and that's what this is about. So. Again, this investigation sort of surfaced on September 22nd. Our patrol division was called to an address in Thibodaux, which, again, people need to understand that parts of Thibodaux do fall under the jurisdiction of Terrebonne Parish, where, they had some allegations of sexual abuse that was occurring with a child under the age of 9. So as that began to sort of culminate, authorities talked with her. She quickly identified Michael Collins as the suspect in the case. You see him photographed here. Again, anytime these investigations come forward, we would know what happens. The Special Victims Unit comes in. There are resident experts in this particular field. And again, they came in, began to review evidence, began to review interviews, and ultimately confirmed a lot of vital information, which they felt linked Michael Collins to not only the allegations, but the investigation as a whole.
Okay.
So again, they ultimately located Michael at his home, conducted an interview with him. It's important to note that Mr. Collins did deny all of the allegations. He did answer questions, but denied up to the point where it became the allegations to at hand. So ultimately, Collins was jailed. There was enough evidence to support that arrest, and he is currently incarcerated on a no bond by local judges. Now, he did go to a magistrate judge this morning, so he may have a bond as of now, but at the time of this press release, he was being held without bond.
Okay. And again, you'll bring us more information about that as we go through.
Absolutely.
And that's that one particular case that was identified. Now we have another case, Mr. Wayne Bennett. Let's talk about this one. Gets a little bit more disturbing because of the volume.
Absolutely. So, this case was one that we highlighted on Monday with Martin.
Right.
Again, we made reference to the fact that there were additional charges that were already filed against Mr. Bennett since Friday. Okay. So initially, we aired that information on Friday. There was an arrest warrant. He was secured on that. Very quickly, information began to surface. By Friday afternoon, we had another set of charges that he was placed under arrest for over the course of the weekend. I'm going to go ahead and list some of these charges so people can understand the seriousness of what we're talking about. First-degree rape, 7 additional counts, more than what we talked about in the initial release.
7 more than on Friday.
Third-degree rape, 12 counts of sexual battery, 7 counts of indecent behavior with a juvenile, 6 counts of oral sexual battery, 2 counts of molestation of a juvenile, 13 additional counts of trafficking of children for sexual purposes, and contributing to the delinquence of a juvenile, 2 counts, all stemming from this investigation. Now, this is where we were as of Monday afternoon.
Right.
Okay. Again, this is a very quickly moving case. It's going to probably slow down as detectives begin to identify more victims, which we feel are highly likely. But at this point, with the culmination of these charges, Mr. Bennett is currently jailed at our Terrebonne Parish Criminal Justice Complex, where he's being held without bond at this point, which I think is highly deserved.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And again, we don't only talk about how disturbing this is to hear, but think about these counts, right? And I'll just kind of do a little bit of the math: 26, 28, 34, 47, 49, almost 50 counts additionally from what was originally reported on Friday and Monday of the number of people whose lives could be completely challenged mentally, emotionally, often physically, for the duration of some time without a great deal of help.
Absolutely.
And so it's one of those things where we, as clinicians in the field, are so very thankful for the Special Victims Unit and for what y'all do through Terrebonne Parish Sheriff's Office to identify these issues as quickly as possible, get these people off the street, and start getting these people some help. Because there are people that never recover from some of these things.
Absolutely. And look, and I think you said a mouthful there, and everything you said is very true. Law enforcement has gotten to a point now where our job can't just be about putting people in jail. Now, certainly there are people that deserve to be in jail, but we have to start thinking about the future, because the reality is these victims could become suspects in themselves, right, beyond any control of their own.
That is correct.
And so we have to think about those components of it. It can't just be about putting Mr. Bennett in jail. Right. We have to provide the right resources so that we can stop the violence from happening in the future.
Yeah, and so recidivism, this thing that happens over and over again, takes place very often when people don't get treatment when they feel like this is kind of normal.
Absolutely.
So if this kind of behavior becomes normalized for somebody who is not old enough to realize what the sexual interpretation is or isn't, then they can often perpetuate these things and become perpetrators.
Absolutely.
And so, again, it's so very important. And again, I'm just so very glad that we've been able to get these people off the street. Again, it's disturbing to hear about these almost 50 counts that we know about, but being able to get somebody off the street who is doing this kind of work. And again, he's presumed innocent until proven guilty. But there's a whole lot of information. And like you said, we need to be on the lookout for more to come, because it seems like this has been pretty widespread.
Yep, and I believe we're just scratching the surface here, Keith, unfortunately.
Well, Blake, we appreciate all the hard work that's being done. Thank y'all for the great effort and doing what you can to help these kids. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right, guys, that'll do it for this particular segment and this Bayou Time. But don't go anywhere. A whole lot more right here on HTV.
Today's social media segment is brought to you by Terrebonne General Health System, Your health is our legacy. Rouse's, you're either local or you're not. Buick, the craft of modern luxury. St. Martin and Bork, know your rights.